Start.
Okay. Hello everyone, thank you for coming out today. My name is Joanne Ludwig, and this is for my public speaking class, section D01. I brought you out today to talk about child abuse and neglect at Hampton Roads. One thing I want to start with is that a lot of people don't realize that children are neglected, and unfortunately I was a part of that, and also my sister was here. In 2005, our mother was really on severe drugs, and we didn't have food and medical care that we needed, and that is a form of neglect. So I just wanted to let you know that this is what prompted me to talk about child abuse and neglect in Hampton Roads. Okay, I got a quote here that says, in Virginia, a child is abused or neglected every 75 minutes. And every 4 days a child dies from such mistreatment. That is here in Virginia. That is not anywhere else. So that's kind of severe. Here is by state. By state, I pulled this chart to show you that Virginia, it has its problems with child abuse and neglect, but it's not the most severe. And also, if you notice, this black line here is for the overall average of the United States. This black line along here. Any questions about this? It goes by year, and this is by thousands.
How did they come up with those figures?
Studies. This is from social services. I should have stated that. This comes from social services, and because they have a system, which I'm going to go into later, that they report to, which is federal. So these are reported by federal. Unfortunately, Maryland only reported to 2005. I'm not sure why. And then this is for the region of Hampton Roads. As you can see, Hampton Roads is in the green. So that would make them third highest in Virginia. Pretty close to third highest. But it's pretty, I think that's ridiculous. It shouldn't be that bad. Okay, and the 7 forms of child abuse. There's sexual abuse. How many pronounce these letters? Pedophile. There we go. Pedophilia. That's how you would pronounce that. Physical abuse, child neglect, emotional neglect, failure to thrive, and Munchausen's by proxy syndrome. That would be a disease. And so is the they consider pedophiles. They have a mental disorder. I want to go into each one specifically. Child sexual abuse. It can be sexual intercourse, but they pretty much consider that any type of touching, inappropriately, cuddling, kissing, let me make sure I got all of them right, and private area touching, and any type of photographs of just the child, not like the child and somebody else. That goes into the pedophiles, where it has the child and someone else, and then of course intercourse and everything else. And yes, this happens to children. Physical abuse would be the hitting, parents' tempers to where they hit and abuse the child. It also includes corporal punishment. Corporal punishment is like, let's say the parent decides to punish them by making them hold a broom over their head for 10-20 minutes. That would be considered corporal punishment. It's not just hitting, Of course, it's appropriate to do timeouts and everything, but they consider for every year, the age of the child, so 1, 2, 3, is 1 minute for timeouts. So if the child's 1, they get 1 minute for timeout. If the child's 2, they get 2 minutes for timeout. Anything further than that, that could be considered physical abuse. Child neglect, which is what I related to in my experience. I remember one time where all we had was macaroni and cheese for dinner, and that's because my mom wasn't home, and we didn't even have milk to make the macaroni and cheese. We had to use water. So, and that's neglect. The parent not paying attention to the child, not providing the necessities for that child, food, clothing, shelter, all sorts of things like that have to be provided for the child. Emotional neglect. I'm pretty sure a lot of us have experienced emotional neglect in our lives. Has anybody experienced that? When someone's like, you're ugly, you're fat, they pretty much talk bad about you, but this is mainly coming from your parents is what this is focusing on. So it can cause a lot of issues. Now I have here symptoms of show that kids can show. So that would be they become detached from their parents. They don't bond with their parents. You can notice it as, well, not just parents, people also. They end up having poor interactive skills, and they act out. So those are all symptoms of a child that is having emotional neglect from home. Failure to thrive is kind of similar to emotional neglect, but it's more prone to their development skills themselves, meaning that the parent knows something's wrong with them, but they're not pushing them or paying attention to them to give them what they need to survive in our society, basically. So if they don't do that, like denying food, again, emotional neglect is tied into this one, and allowing the child to remain ill, knowing they have something wrong with them. And again, that also ties into the Munchausen by proxy, which is where the parent is making the kid sick. I mean, how can they strive to be more if they're always making them to be sick? So that's what the Munchausen by proxy disease is. And it's always taking the kid to the doctor and such things of that nature. Does anybody have any questions about this? The 7 forms of child abuse.
On the Munchausen by proxy syndrome, when you say making the kid sick, what do you mean? How does a parent make the kid sick?
Intentionally getting them sick, a cold, or if they know they're allergic to something, they put them near their allergy. So I mean, that's just purposely to get attention, basically. Anything to get attention for themselves and the child.
Well, I think Courtney's afraid to cough around me because anytime she coughs, I give her cough medicine, cough drops, or.
That's not this. Mainly women get Munchausen by proxy, not men.
So it comes from the mother mostly.
I've read up on it, and I never really read anything about men, but I guess it's something in the women. It's kind of like after women have children and they have the postpartum depression, but this is different. It's just something that happens within their body. It could be a chemical imbalance or anything. Now, reporting child abuse. Now that you know the seven forms of child abuse, now to report it, it's helpful to know how to report it, which would be, of course, the name, address, telephone number of the child and the parents, and any other person responsible for that child's care. You need to know their date, their sex, their race, their age. You need to know what the person is doing to that child. It's definitely important to know who lives with the child, the relationship of the child, and any persons that can take the child into custody. For example, in my situation would have been my father. For my sister, it was my aunt. So it depends on who can take that child in, and it's important to know if they have alternatives other than going straight to foster care or something of that nature. Any questions about this slide?
Does anybody really listen?
To what?
If somebody reports it, do they really listen?
They're responsible to listen. They are responsible, and that's what I'm getting into next about the services in Hampton Roads that you have to talk to. So let me move on. Luckily, we have gotten Children's of the King's Daughters in this area, and what I did not know is that they actually have a hotline and a program that works with social services and other organizations, as well as providing their own treatment. CHKD has provided care from the time the incident happened and all the investigation, from treatment afterwards. So that means if they're still having to have counseling or medical treatment from physical abuse, CHKD provides that. You can go onto the website and receive their number. Unfortunately, I forgot to copy it. And then, of course, everybody knows, I'm pretty sure, about Child Protective Services and social services or human services. This is, of course, the information. You can call them 24/7. This is the 24/7 hotline. They have prevention services of their own. they have treatment services, I'm sorry. And all this is, and then of course they have a list of people who do the reporting. Like if you call in, they have a list who does the investigation. So you can see all that there, and I'm pretty sure they have numbers listed. Or you can call in and speak to somebody. But when you report something, it's just like an investigation for the police. They have to write everything down. They're required to write everything. If they're not doing their job. Like in my case, again, to bring up social services, it was right before Thanksgiving of '05 that a social worker had come in and viewed our home, the condition it was, and not having food, and left us in that situation. As far as I know, she doesn't work for social services anymore because of the irresponsibility of removing us from that home. So, any questions about this? Who to call? Now this is for Hampton. This is not just for Hampton Roads. This is the numbers for Hampton Roads, but CPS is a federal. It should be in every single state. So if you move to another state, they should have certain numbers that you can call and report abuse to. Each state has their own program, but this just happens to be for Virginia. Oh, that's my works cited. Okay, so that was all that. And there was one more thing. I could have sworn I put that side in here. About it's called Capita Act, which is what funds those programs. Every time it's a federal program, so every time that a program is opened about child abuse to report it and treat it or take care of the victims within it, Capita is a federal act that funds those programs, and it stands for. I just had it right here. Nope, I switched it over too fast. It stands for Child Abuse and Treatment Act, and the goal of that act is to support prevention assessment, investigating, prosecution, and treatment activities. These are grants that are provided to every program that involves child abuse and neglect. And I want to sum it up. Again, I informed y'all about the 7 forms of child abuse and neglect, which was the sexual abuse, the pedophiles, physical abuse, child neglect, emotional neglect, failure to thrive, and Munchausen by proxy. You can report these to CPS or CHKD, and both of these programs are funded by Capita. So is there any questions about all the information that has been put out there? Okay, I want to thank everybody for coming out, and this is Joanne Ludwig. And this is Joanne Ludwig for my public speaking class at section D01. That's it.